And good day, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us. Good to get back on the TV airwaves in St. Albans. We're guesting with St. Albans Mayor Tim Smith. Mr. Mayor, good to see you.
Richard, how are you?
Boy, so we've made it to June. Not exactly, I should know, we're taping this show on Thursday, June 8th. Not exactly lovely June weather the last day or two, huh?
And a roller coaster for sure.
Yeah, a couple 90s here. I guess Burlington had what back-to-backs 96 and 91, and now we're about 15, 20 degrees below average. But I guess such is life. But I want to ask you about actually a non-Franklin County story. I get one of the many papers I get is a Chronicle. The Chronicle. I think it's probably the best weekly paper in Vermont out of Orleans County.
Yep.
And boy, interesting news. Beth Barnes, the now former mayor of Newport, had you even had a chance to meet her?
Never met her, no. I knew, I actually knew Paul Monette pretty, I mean, we were friends.
Former longtime mayor.
Served on the committee which encompassed the 6 northern counties, so
Right.
Paul, and that's how I got to know Paul over the years, and he decided not to run.
Right.
And they had multiple candidates, I think, when
They
he
did have
step
candidates.
down.
And I remember in the Chronicle a few months ago, there was a letter that Beth Barnes and probably other candidates wrote describing their stuff, and I never met her. She, never met the person, but she sounded like kind of a real kind of regular person, not a big background in politics or anything, which is fine. Anyway, she gets elected pretty easily over some other candidates, and 75 days in, did you even know she resigned?
Well, I did see that in the news. She said that she was being bullied.
Bullied, intimidated, but what a weird story.
And I didn't realize that their city managers.
And she's Laura Dolgan. She's on the way out also.
Yeah, so she's still there.
I think she's maybe barely still there, but
we had a meeting on Tuesday for the group I mentioned earlier, and the individual from the Northeast Kingdom stated they didn't have a mayor or a city manager, so I think she may be done.
Yeah, but I think she's maybe helping out as kind of Kerry Johnson is in the town with Sean Atkins, the new guy in town. So, but what a weird story. Yeah, 75 days in, and she's bullied, intimidated, and stuff. And I haven't read too much since then, but kind of a weird story.
Yeah, no, I just caught it on the news. I thought the exact same thing, that he sort of wonder what the environment is.
That's right. Out of curiosity, well, they can't pay the mayor of Newport any less than they're paying you. Do they pay the mayor of Newport anything? Do you know?
I don't know. It seems to me, and I don't know this for a fact, but the general across the board, it seems like it's about $100 a month for select board or trustees or council persons, and then the mayor or the chair of the board usually gets twice that. Is what sort of the going rate is.
Which to me sounds totally reasonable. In fact, as I've mentioned a bunch of times, maybe I'm about the only person in St. Albans City who thinks it's insane for the mayor and the councilors to be paid nothing, down from the old $10 a month.
Right.
But anyway, so June, we're near the end of the fiscal year. How's the city financially as you get close to the end of fiscal year 2023?
Yeah, no, I think we're sitting pretty well. Winter was mild.
Yeah.
We did have a lot of small dustings or 1-inch snowfall, which
kept the plows going.
Kept the plows going, salting. It can add up just like a large storm can. And then we had some vacancies. We filled the financial officer, Tom Lights, but that was vacant for a number of months. So that you tend to accumulate a few dollars there. And the pool, I haven't seen the final numbers on the pool yet. Of course, they're not final until June 30th, but it'll be interesting to see how that came in compared to what we thought it would be.
What you projected for it.
When it was first constructed, you don't know what you don't know. So now we have something to build off from, and we'll see where that comes in. But that
would you guess that you did pretty well? It sounds like the pool's been very successful, seemingly.
All indications was that we would be doing better than the projections, both income-wise and expense-wise, or we would be pretty close. So.
No, it sounds like you've done very well with the pool. I saw one of the TV stations gave it some attention a couple days ago.
Yeah, no, it's been
And the bubble, of course, is...
Bubble came down.
That must be... Did you... Why? That must be quite the procedure there.
It took about 10 days, I think. And not that it took 10 days to take it down, but there's some preparation that has to happen, and you need to round up the volunteers, of which the high school kids at the Northwest Tech Center assisted in that process. So being the first time coming down, they were working through that process. So I think all in all, we had no issues. So.
And the bubble worked out pretty well. And again, as you talked before, around Christmas time, the big windstorm
never budged.
Yeah.
But no, I've heard the dome, nothing but good things. And I get, we want a destination for families, but probably more important to me is the fact that the senior population used it a lot and got out and were able to exercise during the winter months. So I think that was that's a valuable asset for that demographic. So
I hear you. As it turned out, I didn't deal with it last winter, but this winter I'll certainly give it some thought.
I've heard nothing but good things from the senior population.
Sounds like that's worked out well.
And I say this, I'm in the senior population, right?
Yeah, I'm way ahead of you. I'm way ahead of you. Regarding the historic agreement between the city and town of a while back, any kind of new wrinkles to report to that? That's still holding, and
and
of course, I guess the first thing that kind of starts kicking in, I believe, on July 1st with the affiliation fee being halved.
Right, the affiliation fee. So I can use Peerless Clothing as an example through work. So Peerless had been paying. I think about $32,000 a year in the affiliation fee.
Yeah.
And so starting July 1, they'll go to 16.
Wow.
So we'll pay $4,000 quarterly for that, and then a year from July it will go away. So.
Anyway.
So that's that's a big piece of the discussion. And, so it will kick in, and now a lot of the efforts is focused on the police department, trying to get the recruitment. I saw they just had a class out of the police academy.
Oh, yeah.
I saw Burlington had 4 officers. I'm not sure.
I heard John Murad on VMT mentioning he had several officers coming in. I said I felt glad. I pay a lot of attention to that issue, and Chief Murad sure sounds to me like a pretty solid guy. Finally, he shakes the interim tag.
It baffles me. It baffles me that he still had 4 people vote against him on that council.
Yeah, the four progs.
And he, his patience, his diligence to stay in that and to do what appears to be a top-notch
the guy's not
quality
perfect.
job.
There have been a few issues. I mean, obviously nobody's perfect,
Right.
but no, it's unreal to me that he hung in there.
Same with me. And
you're right. Yeah, the 4 progs still voted against him.
I don't know what their expectation was. You got a top-notch quality guy that could have gone to any community and been police chief. Could have left at any time. But to your point, he stuck it out. And took the high road every time, and you still had 4 progressives that chose not to vote for him. And it baffles me.
I hear you.
You're trying to move the city forward, right? So you want to give a vote of confidence, yet you still have 4, instead of unanimous, you got 4 trying to make a point, which...
Anyway, but he's finally the permanent chief, so hopefully better times coming in for Burlington PD. And again, speaking of PDs, of course, St. Albans PD, just a little over a year down the road, will retake command in St. Albans Town, of course. Has the city PD, is it in the process of beefing up? Or?
Oh, for sure. It's been an ongoing looking at candidates, trying to, because you're coming up on a year, and to get someone trained is 4 to 6 months. So every month that passes, you're cutting that deadline that much closer. So it'll be. But no, they're definitely focused on it, and we trust Chief Lamont and his team. I think he's got a great team as well, and they're focused on it, and they'll make it happen.
Interesting. So that's not. What about Highgate? St. Albans City PD is still has coverage in Highgate. Is that about to end, or have you got another year coming up?
So we
Tom?
haven't. The discussion will be July 1.
Okay.
Whether they want to renew it and we want to renew it, so that will be a discussion point. I mean, Highgate's going through some changes as well.
Boy, a lot of things going on in Highgate.
You know, I see they need a road foreman or a public works foreman.
And Heidi Bridge-Valenta just stepped down as town administrator.
And they haven't filled her spot yet, but Heidi did a wonderful job for Highgate, and she'll do a wonderful job for Village of Swanton as well. So that's a discussion that will be happening as we speak.
Interesting. So again, at this moment, this is like just in a few weeks or so.
Yeah.
So nothing's nailed down at Highgate for the next year.
No, I don't believe so. My expectation is that it will be, because our status quo isn't going to change.
So you're prepared? You think you'd be prepared to do another year in Highgate?
Because the town doesn't kick in, right?
Okay.
So it's no different than what we did this year.
Okay.
So in my opinion. So
interesting.
But it's a discussion we haven't had yet either.
Yeah. So summer, a lot of good stuff coming up in the summer. The summer concert series isn't too far away. So looking forward to a good summer in St. Albans. A lot of activities coming up.
For sure. I think I'm encouraged. I think it's going to be one of the higher tourist type seasons. Not that we depend on tourists, but it just seems to have been growing consistently over the last 5-6 years. We have some great community events coming up, as you said, the concerts. We've got the car show on July 15th.
July 15th, I saw posters on it yesterday.
And then a new event is a Church Street Festival, basically showcasing the buildings that we have on Church Street, with the churches, the courthouse, museum. So that'll be a day-long festival as well with family activities, food, and the museum is taking the lead on that. That is July 22nd. I see that the town is doing Bay Day on July 2nd.
Yep, Sunday, July 2nd.
July 2nd. They will be having their car show. The farmers market with music as well.
Yep. Started last week, day 2 today for Thursday, June 8th.
Yep, that's right, yeah. So they, not just St. Albans City, but the town has done a great job of building attractions down at the Bay Park. And it's great to see that facility being used.
Yeah, it sounds like it should be a good summer coming up.
I think the downfall, which I don't know if you were going to touch on, Richard, is that from what I understand, the Burton Island Ferry is out of commission.
In fact, I just texted a few people about that last night. In fact, I was kayaking out there about a week or so ago on a beautiful kayaking day, a nice sunny day, not much wind, and I'm going. And in fact, I kayaked out to Burton Island, cruised around the marina, and no sign of the island runner. So at that point, I'm thinking, boy, are they just doing it on weekends? So when I went back into Kilcare a day or two later, talked to the kid at the entrance gate, and he said, no, island runner's got some problems. I guess it would fail to pass, a Coast Guard inspection on the fire suppression system, I think he said. But in any case, they were needing to get some parts for it. And he said that's probably a couple of weeks away and it's going to take a while. So I'm going back about a week, but he thought it might be down for like a month or so.
Yeah, no, I heard that. That's drastic. Really. People make plans. I know a number of people who we're expecting to go here in June, and you can't depend on friends to boat you over and back.
The kid said, hey, it's an easy kayak ride there. I said, yeah, I just did that, but if coming down here with your 3 kids and a bunch of stuff, that might be a bit of a problem.
Right, your coolers, your bikes, and whatnot.
But that is a drag. It seems odd that issue came up so late.
Yeah, no,
I don't know what to say.
The rumor mill has that they knew about it.
Oh, really?
And they failed to address it over the winter.
Really? Wow.
The rumor mill is that some people have moved on and found other jobs.
Really?
The island runners staff, I heard, were moving on. So I think
wow.
I think the problems have grown exponentially, other than just the Islander being out of commission.
No, that's Burton Island. I mean, see a listing of Vermont. I mean, Vermont's got so many great state parks, but Burton Island is right up there. A tremendous place.
Yeah, the number of people that it attracts is, I don't think people would believe the number throughout the summer, and from where people came from too.
Yeah, I mean, campground, I think during summer months is just totally packed, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was surprising news. Well, hopefully the Island Runner will get back at some point.
Yeah, so.
That's right. Any, with your Franklin County Industrial Development Corp. Beta Technologies, is there some movement at the?
Yeah, definitely movement. They're doing some exterior construction with some battery test pods, if you will. And they're doing quite a bit inside. So yeah, they're moving along. Early indication is they'll have about 10 employees once they get up and running, and then gradually grow it from there. We had a groundbreaking May, I can't remember, 25th or so, relative to Purpose Energy down in the industrial park.
Oh, I read the story.
Yeah, so that was, so they're purchasing, they purchased a 3-acre lot to create their
biogas. I got the right name.
Yeah, so I get my biogas digesters, all that mixed up, methane.
Interesting.
But so they'll take the waste from a number of our food industries and
so Ben & Jerry's, and more than Ben & Jerry's.
Yeah, so Ben & Jerry's actually is going to pipe theirs directly.
Wow.
The lot is adjacent to Ben & Jerry's, so they'll pipe their waste. It will be a relief on the city sewer system.
Wow.
You know, because of the weight, that type of waste is very, it's very strong to treat. I mean, very difficult to treat, and you're limited on the amount. So this will remove some of the BODs, is what it is from the system, and and then other food facilities could truck their waste there as well.
Wow.
So that was good. We had the ribbon cutting on the dispatch center. That was back early May. They did a wonderful job on that building. It's nice to see the Fonda site start to be reused.
Where's the access into that? I mean, I go by Lower Newton Street every day.
Yeah, it's almost a 4-way stop.
Yeah.
So if you came off Federal and went straight through Lower Newton,
so
it's a gravel road.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where that would be.
And that brings to mind, of course, the old railroad building. Any activity, any sign of any activity with that?
I've heard there's been a bid put on it, but not accepted.
Oh, really?
So that conversation will continue to move down the road.
That's right. So. Do you know Jim Cameron, who's done obviously a bunch of stuff for the city? Has Jim given that any thought? Do you know? I haven't talked to Jim for a while.
We actually are using Jim up in Enosburg for the Pearly Block.
Oh, okay.
So he's overseeing that. He's got the courthouse. He does some other things. He has some other projects going on with the city, but I don't know if Jim would take that on. I think he's probably going to wait and see how the courthouse turns out, or how much time that takes.
Yeah.
He's got a lot going on. He's backed. I know for a fact that he's backed away from a few things, volunteering wise.
Yeah.
So I think he's probably going to take a wait and see attitude, would be my guess.
Yeah. And the Pearly Block, again, kind of another initiative FCIDC's been involved with. So that's underway. Work going on over.
It's almost completed.
Wow.
Yeah, for the most part. So it's ground floor between what we call the annex, which used to be a warehouse, and the main building is about 7,500 square feet. We've renovated the majority of it, probably be wrapped up by the end of June, we hope. The Franklin Northeast Supervisory Union is taking just under 5,000 square feet of it. And then we have 2 retail spots on Main Street that are now full, Bees Flowers and Healthy Nutrition, I think. And then we also have some additional office space out back that we're in discussion with NCSS to take that. So that would be all full. The apartments upstairs, we've been able to get in and renovate 2 of them. There's 8 total.
Really?
So we'll have 6 more to go at some point when folks choose to move out. And then we do also have the opportunity to add 4 more apartments. I actually have to go before the Development Review Board in Enosburg next week, I believe, if not the following week, to present our case, adding 4 more apartments to the building. So it's gone very well, probably better than we could have hoped for.
Really?
We hope we can pay our bills. I think we can on that one. But it's been a great addition to Enosburg, and it's. I know my board was excited to play a role in doing some downtown refurbishment, if you will.
Right, and that's been kind of a branching out, kind of a bit of a different initiative for you
definitely
folks.
different for us. We have our strategic plan has led us to being a little more active in the downtown areas and not just focused on industrial parks, if you will. But yeah, so.
Interesting. Any news with the rest area? I know you'd love to see another
No.
rest area off the interstate. Any news on that?
I try not to be a nag on that. I send an email off to the Secretary of Transportation every 2 months, and it's probably about time. Excuse me. From what I understand, they do have some conversations relative to purchasing land.
Yeah.
That would be suitable for the development. So.
But you'd like to think at some point, you're reasonably confident that at some point there'll be some movement on that?
That and the Vermonter going to Montreal, yes.
It's funny, I almost asked you about that a couple of minutes. Do you hear anything
nothing.
about that?
No.
And that brings to mind our good friend, Mr. Jim Levy. Any bus news?
Jim Levy's has been maintaining conversation with Greyhound, and I think the issue is, like a lot of places, Greyhound has shortage of help and drivers and everything else. Right. So, but no, I'd like to think. I mean, not that I've set a retirement date, but I probably have 6 more years. I'd like to think there'll be a rest area, and that's long. I'd like to think 3 years there'd be a rest area.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get up to Quebec, southern Quebec, to see the activity relative to the I-35 or 135.
In fact, I was up there pretty recently with flying to Italy and stuff, and yeah, I mean, you definitely see the construction, I guess, as you know, soon after you cross the border there, but it looks like there's some activity.
Yeah, and then there's going to be lots of activity at the U.S. border, with upgrading that.
A major upgrade, right?
Yeah, so
interesting.
A lot going on. Belco, if you go up through Highgate, Belco is investing millions of dollars on an upgrade.
Oh, is that right? At the converter station or whatever?
For transmission lines, upgrading transmission lines and poles and all that.
Interesting.
So the investment in the area is substantial for sure. So.
What ARPA money, Tim, American Rescue Plan Act money, is there still a bunch of money that you haven't figured out how to use, or?
There's always uses, Richard, I think. I think our focus continues to be the downtown, doing facade grants, and we have multiple conversations going on. And then the other one is neighborhoods, trying to get that money into some neighborhoods and improving some of the homes that may have become a little dilapidated, if you will.
Yeah. Boy, speaking of homes or lack thereof, boy, the homeless issue getting a ton of attention in Vermont, and St. Albans did have some folks living at the Cadillac, and they're out of there now, I assume, or
half and half. I think is sort of. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but if you were, if you had larger needs than let's say a single male or a single female, maybe you had 2 young kids, or you're a senior and you're on oxygen, those people will continue to stay at the Cadillac at least till the end of July, and then they're going to be that benefit runs out at that time.
Wow.
If you're a single male or female, you were gone. You were out as of June 1.
Yeah.
We've seen a little uptick in the downtown area, and I just saw some issues yesterday when I was on Main Street. Some screaming and yelling, and maybe pushing and shoving between a couple individuals. So we met beforehand. We being the chief of police, CV, OEO, city manager and myself to talk about, just make sure everyone's aware, what the timing was going to be. So we haven't, and I'm not in daily conversation with the chief, but I think any issues have been limited, although we do expect that there will be, as I said, an uptick in calls or individual disputes or whatever the case may be.
Any idea what the people who hadn't had to get out of Cadillac, any idea what they're doing?
I know that many were given tents, so there many of them are tenting and sort of off the beaten path.
Not in St. Albans City, presumably, or not
some
sure?
could be in the city, railroad property, clumps of woods that might be off the rails. And then you have some, from my understanding, out behind Walmart, and a few other places. So they're scattered. There are encampments, but they're not large. I think I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I don't think unless there's a complaint or a call that they will be left alone in those situations.
Of course, you wonder what happens come next October and November and stuff. But well, it's become such a big issue. I know when I interviewed most of the candidates in contested races before the November election, that was a question I asked them: what should homelessness, should that be a state responsibility in dealing with homeless people? And the candidates were kind of careful how they answered that, but it sounds like that's become a huge issue.
Yeah, it's going to sound like I'm saying that we're wasting money, but I think the money could have been better utilized to set up the infrastructure so we could do some developments to it. Like there's one individual was looking at doing a 10 house subdivision on land that he owned, but he needed $600,000 to do the infrastructure and the engineering. So if you're selling small ranch homes, now if he had 10 of them, invested $600,000 in infrastructure, you tax $60,000 before you even put a shovel in the ground for each of those homes. I think that money could have been better used. Give grants out for those individuals, put the infrastructure in, and give them a jump start on building some affordable homes. But it went, and I get it. You got to get the homeless out of the weather conditions, but we can't continue down that road. I mean, that's we're not getting any return on that dollars. And people will argue, Richard, well, you put someone up, but I'm talking the big picture. We're not getting any return on our dollars in terms of infrastructure and growing the housing market.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Speaking of housing, big apartment project planned for Lake Street, is that moving?
Yeah, moving forward.
Along?
They got some brownfield dollars to do some cleanup. The city's working on a couple others in the downtown core. So, we're hoping to have potentially as many as 200 more units in the downtown region.
Well, it sure sounds like the city's doing a lot better than a lot of places in terms of housing units.
I give all that credit to City Manager Don McLeod. I mean, you've heard me say it before. He's the exception to the rule when it comes to city managers or town administrators. I mean, he has a vision. He networks. He makes it happen. And the key for us is not just housing. I mean, housing is important for sure, but we lost a good chunk, and we somehow need to make up that lost in the grant list for the INS building.
Right, big hit for the city.
Big hit was $7.5 million. So now we need to somehow come up with a replacement plan, and the plan is to grow the housing.
And speaking of that building, anybody showing any interest?
Actually, it's. I heard there was a offer made and accepted. Hasn't closed yet. It would be. And the building would definitely be underutilized. It's not going to grow jobs. It's not, but it will be. It will be occupied and will be. Leaving it unoccupied, only you're asking for problems. So,
On that note, we'll call it a day. Thanks to St. Albans Mayor Tim Smith for joining us. Thanks to producer Alan Cunningham, our fine producer doing all the hard work. Thanks for joining us again on Northwest Access TV. I'm Richard Cowperthwait. See you next time.